Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about a community college course designed to help American Indians express themselves through film. And Jana Wimmersbach talks about her new book, a historical novel based on the life of a woman wrongly accused and lynched for cattle rustling. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Native Documentaries for Social Change is a curriculum taught at Mesa Community College that helps American Indian students use filmmaking to communicate their heritage and history. Eddie Webb developed the curriculum. He joins us now to talk about the program. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
The Native Documentaries for Social Change. What exactly are we talking about?
Well, it's a progression of our curriculum, our written curriculum that we've had, our competencies from English 101 and 102. And so I had actually gone back to film school at Scottsdale Community College as a teacher myself. And I was exposed to documentary filmmaking there. And so I just started building this curriculum for our Native students of how to make the language come alive. Right? So in the past, I was seeing these great research papers by individual students, but I'm the only one seeing them. And so by using this technology, we can reach a larger base, and also the skill set that comes along with filmmaking.
So basically, these films communicate heritage and communicate history, correct?
Yeah. Well, we pick a theme. The students actually pick a theme. We have a process, Ted, that follows our competencies in rhetoric, right? So we have to have an objective thesis. We have to have case studies. We have to integrate all of that research into a solution or a conclusion, right? And so answer all of those premise. And so we workshop with the students and they pick the topic, and that's what's been pretty cool about this whole experience. Is our first one that we did was about assimilation through boarding schools. And that was the theme. The one that we're currently working on that we've been shooting is native language preservation. Because as the country knows, as the language goes, the culture goes.
Indeed, and I noticed in looking over this that you want these films, these documentaries, these projects to promote social consciousness. What exactly does that mean?
Well, for hundreds of years, it's been really the colonialist story of America, the land, the environment, as well as the people. And so with these, with this technology of filmmaking, tribes can actually exercise self-determination, sovereignty, and not for the first time, but we're at the beginning of an era where young people can take multimedia technologies and tell their stories. And just by doing that is the shift in the culture and in society, where you're not having other people tell you about your culture. You're telling.
Indeed. We've talked about that a number of times on this program. The idea of history is whoever's telling it. Right. And right now we're getting that history and heritage from these American Indian students. It's interesting because I know there's a very strong oral tradition in Native American culture. That comes through pretty strong in these documentaries, I would imagine.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think the people that they sort of bridge the gap too between traditional people and more progressive populations, right? But the idea is that they are still bridging the communication through storytelling, right? It's the stories. I don't know, Leslie Silko had written in her book Ceremony that stories are all we have. It's what heals us, it's what keeps us healthy, it's the way we interpret. And so our young people, they're free to explore their own stories.
From what you've seen now, and again, this is part of English 101, 102, this is part of the curricula there at Mesa Community College. How do you see the difference now between the student who writes X, Y, and Z and now can show and tell X, Y, and Z?
Well, I think it's my responsibility as an instructor, right, to stay current on a lot of these technologies, because this is the language that our young people are using. Facebook, all of these multimedia technologies are just common tools for them. So I've been very encouraged by, the students when they get into the classroom and they see the curriculum, they just, they come alive. And the last one that we did, we actually filmed them actually writing the traditional paper, right? And then cut away to us being out on the reservation, interviewing elders, interviewing, people that preserve the language, the culture. So instead of it just being a thesis statement, in the text, then we do that part, but then we cut away, to that, to bring it alive.
Indeed.
Right? And they love it.
Does it come alive? I mean, are you reading, again, you're reading this particular story, but the minute that story gets onto videotape or digital or whatever they're using these days, you're seeing a different story?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the impact of the story is better for the audience, right? And isn't that what we teach that, right? That's the first question you ask. Who is your audience, right? And then we ask them in writing to show more than tell, right? And so here we do that. All of those principles just line up perfect.
What kind of reaction are you getting from the students?
Positive, all positive. It's also a great team building exercise. So I put, we just we name our own production company. We called it Rad Film Productions. We make our own T-shirts. So there's a business aspect to the writing as well. So they formed our own company, and then we just break them into production teams. And we wait a couple weeks while we're doing the writing so people get a feel for the equipment. We're shooting DSLR cameras, we're using Zoom recorders, LED lighting. So we have all the tools to play with, and people just kind of find their way, to whatever group. So it brings community together. The students are working together. We work on a big screen through Google Docs. So we're writing collaboratively, and it's amazing.
And now, what kind of reaction are you getting from other instructors?
Positive, I think at the beginning it's a lot, right? It's a lot to comprehend in terms of how do you make a sentence, come alive, right? We're okay with static images, PowerPoints, right? But now all I'm doing is introducing motion and audio, which it has to be edited, right? So there's another component to the curriculum too, right? We're using all of the Premiere, I don't know if can I say products on it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But so we're using all these other technologies as well to get the final product. So I think instructors have been, at least in my department, extremely supportive.
Last question on this. We talked about obviously what kids are learning, but there's also leadership, I would imagine, identity, family bonds, the whole 9 yards. Yes. That has to be included here.
All of that. And what's really exciting about it is to watch the natural progression of the classroom, right? So students they find their way. In a week, 5-6 days, I know who's going to be the producer, who's going to be the director, who wants to get behind the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, people they just find their way. I had 2 students last summer, and they were best buddies, but they were fascinated by lighting a scene. Right?
Yeah.
Rembrandt.
Yeah.
And I showed them Rembrandt, and that's all they wanted to do, and it was amazing. And we have our producer, we have, and so they find their way into it. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on this. It sounds really interesting, and it sounds like you're getting good work done. It must be very satisfying. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.